23-21, Dallas trying to earn a game point, a match point, a championship point. It is Augiga.
Yes, he does. Match point, Dallas. Big drive, Cinderella story complete.
Welcome everybody back to the channel. I hope you all had a fantastic holiday. It was a little hectic for me over Thanksgiving. Unable to get this video out quite as early as I would have liked. Hopefully you still care about the Major League Pickleball semifinals and finals, which at this point was probably close to 2 weeks ago. We're going to be getting into all the action as we saw in the intro. Unfortunately for me, the Dallas Flash, who are my rivals and who I hate, they did take home the championship. I don't really feel like that's a spoiler at this point since it's been so long. But we're going to take a deep dive, figure out what went right for them and what went wrong for everybody else. Particularly what went wrong for New Jersey in that final match. Before we dive in, please consider liking this video, subscribing to this channel, and if you're doing any holiday shopping this season, go ahead and try code MattyP1224 when you check out at pickleballcentral.com. It's not going to work on everything, but when it does, hopefully save you a few bucks. Anyways, let's get after it.
New Jersey earns a game point.
We will kick things off. We've already got the crowd chanting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it is the New Jersey Fives in the semifinals, game one of match one up against the Texas Rangers with a very sizable lead trying to close it out. However, after a few unforced errors, all of a sudden things start getting a little bit tight. Can Texas get away with highway robbery here and steal this game? If you get a game off Leigh Waters, all of a sudden that changes everything. You're no longer looking at a dream breaker, but now you're thinking about, hey, we can just steal this match in regulation. Here, Texas does end up fighting all the way back to 24-24. Ederite season opportunity tries to crash off the Tina Pisnik drive, however, does not go their way and eventually gets caught in the transition zone from Leigh Waters, playing so aggressively as always from the right side next to Mari Humberg. And ultimately, the Fives women, despite needing quite a few game points to close it out, are able to do just that, getting a 1-0 lead heading into men's doubles, where it is incredibly important for the Ranchers to be on their game. Anytime Zane Naruto wins a game, that means you're going to have to steal one off of Leigh Waters unless you want to lose in regulation. Texas had a 12-10 lead and was looking to take a 3-point lead into the end change when all of a sudden things just started to unravel for them. After a string of unforced errors, it was actually the New Jersey Fives who would have the lead at the end change, where let's take a second and just look at this camera angle. It is absolutely brutal at this time of day with the sun glaring directly into the camera. Very distracting as Alshon goes for the Ernie and cannot convert. I don't know if New Jersey fans can count this high, but the Fives had an 8-0 run. They took a 10-12 deficit, flipped it into an 18-12 lead, and they never really looked back.
Oh, what a snag from Zane Navratil, 25-19.
The Ranchers sent out Alshon and Wright, and the Fives reacted. They put out Navratil and Humberg with very little pressure, knowing that they have Leigh Waters in their back pocket who can come out and close if they are unable to get the win here. Shortly after that, sharp-angled Ernie from Mari Humberg, Christian Alshon is going to hit them with the Burt.
Oh, Burt alert.
Now, speaking about the sun and difficult camera angles, yeah, that's pretty brutal. I don't know if we need that one again, MLP. Back to the action. Ranchers with a 19-17 lead. We get a weird double hit from Alshon. On the ensuing rally, it looks like he almost fakes out his own partner a little bit. She thought he was going to step over and take that maybe. At 20-20, Zane Navratil catches the net cord, catches Alshon off court, and the Fives now have a lead, 22-20.
Just wrong shot.
And on match point number one, Alshon sends it deep. The Fives get the win 3-0, and Leigh Waters doesn't even have to play a second game. A disaster for Texas. In match number two, Leigh Waters and Mari Humberg defeated Ederite and Tina Pisnik 25-15. They did not play with fire the second time around. Got an easy, dominant win. And here we are now, again, same situation. The Texas Rangers men up against Will Howes and Zane Navratil. Christian Alshon, letting them hear about it. Looking good, up 15-8. What could possibly go wrong? Well, for starters, we're going to get this call from Kwang Duong on a pretty slow-moving dink.
Oh, yeah. That's bad.
Yeah, and that's a dink, too. That's not a ball that was hit hard, so...
But the real momentum shift is going to come after this rally, which Texas is going to win.
Wow. Reload City for the Texas Rangers.
Oh, Christian walked up to get the ball, and Howes didn't realize that Alshon was so close. He's roaring at him, and watch what Howes does. right into the
I
chest.
think he knew he was there. Here it is again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think it's hilarious.
So depending on who you ask, that was a pretty interesting moment. If you ask Michelle McMahon, it was a pretty funny moment. I'm kind of tempted to agree with her, even as a Texas Rangers fan. I was watching this match with my dad, who is one of the owners of the Texas Rangers. He was getting a little bit heated up watching this on the iPad back home, so that was also kind of added to my entertainment from this. I don't know. I don't really have a huge problem with it. He didn't hit it too hard, but it seemed to be a pretty big moment. Remember, there was a 17-9 lead for Texas when that happened. Just watch the score continuing to creep up. At 16-18, after missing a return, Christian Alshon's actually going to get a little bit of revenge. That's a little extra payback after the whistle, but I think given the circumstances, we've got to allow it. Here on a crucial rally, 17-18, we have to talk about another interesting production decision made by MLP this week. Every single time a plane flew in the background of a rally, they felt the need to get super low down and show it. It was so distracting. After the 8-0 run yesterday to take men's doubles against the Ranchers, the Fives were at it again with a 10-1 run.
Yes, for the young Q and New Jersey flipping the script.
They turned a 17-9 deficit into a 19-18 lead and eventually were able to get the win again, taking another 2-0 lead into mixed doubles. Disaster once again for Texas. This time, Texas sent out Tina and Kwong. The Fives reacted once again. They put out Annalie Waters and Will Howes, looking to close this out in 3 once again. It was tied 18-18. Tina and Kwong played well, honestly.
Oh, no.
But in the end, Annalie Waters was just too much for the Texas Rangers to handle. They are going to close this one out with a 3-0 sweep as well, meaning both matches in this series were 3-0 sweeps. An absolute disaster for Texas. Their season comes to an end. We'll talk more about what's next for them later, but we got to keep moving.
The New Jersey Fives are moving on to the championship rounds on Sunday. What a moment.
Now, for as brutal as that earlier camera angle was, getting blasted by the sun, I mean, we've got to at least take a minute and appreciate this beautiful sunset we have. I'm guessing this is what they had in mind when they decided to orient the court and the camera like this. But anyway, let's talk pickleball. We are here in the other semifinals. We have the 3-seed Dallas Flash, Hurricane Tyra Black and Georgia Johnson up against the 2-seeded St. Louis Shock with Anna Bright and Kate Fahey, who are probably the favorites to take the women's doubles game here. They were the second best team all year, behind only Annalie Waters and Mari Humberg of the New Jersey Fives. So if Dallas is able to steal this one, they will be off and running to a very strong start. After a little bit of dinking, we're going to duck down low. There's a plane coming. We've got to check that out. But also, Georgia Johnson's going to try a cross-court speed up. Kate Fahey is all over it. Trying to cut into that lead, though. Dallas still edging them out just barely, 23-21 now. After a few attempts at a put-away and some stellar defense from Kate Fahey and Anna Bright, Tyra Black is able to find the put-away to earn a game point for the Dallas Flash.
Dallas takes the first, 25-21.
Losing women's is not ideal for the St. Louis Shock. However, their men's and mixed number 1 are strong enough that they should still be able to fight their way to a dream breaker if they're able to take men's doubles here. And it was looking good for them late, up 22-18. J-Dub is going to show us why they call him the Flick Wizard and eventually get Hayden caught in transition, who puts a ball into the net.
Oh, man.
The next rally, Augie goes for the off-the-bounce speed up, and Hayden reminds him, you got to put it over the net, buddy. At 23-19, still looking good for the Shock. They should be able to close this one out. We're going to get another nice slow angle. Take a look at that plane passing overhead as we get into an extended dink rally. Now, this is a little reminiscent of Hayden's strategy the other day with Riley Newman, sending a lot of dinks over to J-Dub. However, they worked in some to Augie Gut, and they're going to try the speed up off of it, but Hayden Patriquin is just deep. On the next rally, we get another extended dink rally, but this time it's Hayden Patriquin with the unforced error into the net out of the air. At 21-23, watching a lot of the Dallas Flash this year, I kind of feel like this is a signature shot for Augie Gut. He loves crashing in from the right side off of the drive. Out trailing just by 1, we get another extended dink rally, and Augie Gut is going to try the off the bounce speed up again. This time, gets it over the net. So Dallas, after looking just about dead in the water in this game, 23-19, they have turned it into a 23-23 lead, and now they have a game point. Dallas executes a flawless third shot drive to fifth shot drop combo. They get into a little bit of dinking, and after this cross-court pattern goes for a little bit, Abe Tardio decides to test the hands of J.W. Johnson, and
J.W. Johnson.
St. Louis is not a team that wants to be in a 2-0 deficit. I mean, no team really wants to be there, but especially St. Louis, and it just got worse for them as Hayden Patriquin takes a tumble, middle where the carpet hits the court.
This looked funky on the way down here.
Well, he got caught in that transition to the carpeting there.
Dallas built up a massive lead after that. Here they get it to 24-18 after the Anna Bright ATP is short, earning their first game point. And since I said their first game point, yeah, that implies that they had several chances, could not close. St. Louis fights all the way back, gets it to 24-24. And after J-Dub puts this backhand dink into the net, they're going to have a chance to win. This would be huge. This would give Gabe Tardio and Kate Fahey a chance to come out and force a dream breaker. And Hayden Patriquin wastes no time, gets right into this one. After this drop, he's going to attack this out of the transition zone, and that ball just catches the corner. Huge ball there from Georgia. The Flash would win the next rally, and now here on another match point, Hayden Patriquin doing everything he can to put this ball away. A little too much, sends it deep, and the Flash sweep 3-0 in match number 1. Let's head on to match number 2. We open up with women's doubles, which was a get-right game for Anna Bright after not getting a win in the first match here. Just a dominant 24-11, make that 25-11 victory. Already a much better start for the Shock. They want to come out and just blitz teams in regulation, win both men's doubles and women's doubles, then get mixed number 1 with Anna Bright. That would not be the case, however, because the Dallas Flash men held strong and got this series tied back up at 1-1. You really can't overstate just how good Augie Guh has been for this team in this playoff run. Here, off of this attack from Hayden Patriquin, I don't even know what to call this shot. Just a little flick counter reset from the hip. Gets it done.
Ooh, it's wide, and Dallas
Jump into the first mixed matchup with Gabe Tardio and Kate Fahey, who's going to get just an absolutely epic net cord winner right here, up against J.W. Johnson and Georgia Johnson. And this is when things get really interesting in this match, because based on the matchups and how they kind of reacted, it really feels like we are on a collision course for a dream breaker. Gabe and Kate have been one of the worst mixed doubles teams all year, and we know how good Georgia and J.W. Johnson can be. So the Shock can steal this one. All of a sudden, they're looking at a good chance at a regulation win, with Anna Bright and Hayden Patriquin still coming up.
Yes, come on!
This matchup featured quite a bit of cross-court digging between Georgia Johnson and Kate Fahey, and also the added wrinkle of Gabe Tardio, who is super familiar with the game of the Johnson. Here, after the speed up, he is able to get the best of Georgia Johnson to get up to a 19-16 lead. As we settle back into this cross-court digging pattern, this time Georgia Johnson is going to put one into the net before we even get a chance to get into a firefight. Now a 20-16 lead for the Shock. A few rallies later, after more cross-court dinking, Gabe Tardio is going to speed up off the bounce backhand. The first ball he sees, he has had enough of this pattern. He knows his spot. He likes it right there.
What a pull from...
The Gabe Tardio speedups were incredibly effective and were a large reason why St. Louis was able to build up to such a large lead here. After this rally, again, Gabe stepping in, this time on J.W. Johnson, and then here a cross-court speedup from Georgia Johnson. It is now closing time for the Shock. Can they do it? Can they pull off the upset? We once again get into our old reliable pattern, cross-court dinking between the ladies. Gabe Tardio desperately wants to insert himself into this rally, wants to be aggressive, but steps in maybe a little too far, leaves it up high. J.W. strikes for the easy put away. Game point number 2 for St. Louis, and this time it is a Kate Fahey third shot drop into the net. Things just getting a little bit tight for this team. This time it's Kate Fahey leaving one high in the middle. J-Dub again after the exchange gets the put away. 24-24. The moment is possibly fading. Has it passed already?
Game point the other way, Dallas.
So now Dallas trying to close it out, and again Gabe Tardio trying to be aggressive, but Georgia Johnson is able to punish that, slips one past him down the line. Dallas takes a 2-1 lead into mix number 2. It is now up to Anna Bright and Hayden Patriquin to force the Dream Breaker to save their season. And you had to like their chances coming into this match. However, Augie and Tyra played so well all weekend. They picked the right time to step up their game. Here they get off to a 24-21 lead. They have match point to end St. Louis's season. But after a few great defensive digs from Tyra, she goes for the lob, and we get a little bit of a teammate assist from Anna Bright, calling this one out. Down another match point. This time it is Hayden Patriquin who comes up with the clutch counter winner. On the crucial 24-24 rally, the St. Louis Shock are unable to make it up to the kitchen. The third shot drop is just a little bit high from Anna Bright. Hurricane Tyra Black punishes it and eventually finds the winner down the middle, setting up another match point for the Dallas Flash.
It's wide. Dallas has done it. The upset of the year on their way to the final.
And before we jump into the final, there actually was a bronze place match that took place between the St. Louis Shock and the Texas Rangers. I didn't watch this. I was playing pickleball. When it comes to MLP, I just don't really care as much about third place. The NBA doesn't have a third place. I know soccer does third place games. I don't know. Anyway, the interesting thing that happened here was it went to a Dream Breaker and Etta Wright had to withdraw. And the Ranchers brought in a sub just for the Dream Breaker. Pierre Imparato was the sub who was available to be selected for this, and they went with that. The way it works, to my understanding, is if you do have a player sub out and you bring in the sub, you are stuck with them for the rest of the event. Of course, this was not only just the last match of this event, but it was the last match of the season for these two teams. It definitely just seems a little bit like a system that you could game if you wanted to. Is this an argument for having larger rosters with designated subs specifically for those teams? Maybe even having singles specialists, who knows? Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Definitely a weird situation though. And it didn't really end up mattering since St. Louis won and it was Texas who had to do the sub, but it certainly matters from the sense of there is a precedent being set. Anyway, let's move along onto the finals. We'll kick off our coverage of the finals here in Game 1 with the New Jersey Fives with a bit of a lead here against the Dallas Flash. Now remember, all three of these matches, if necessary, will be played on the same day. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if that's the best way to do it going forward, but it is what it is, so it was a marathon of a day. New Jersey would fail to make it up to the kitchen line on their first game point. Annalie Waters just a little bit high. Mari caught in transition. On their second attempt to close out, New Jersey does make it up to the kitchen line. However, the Dallas Flash do a great job of moving Annalie Waters around, finding an opening down the middle, forcing the error. On the crucial 25-25 rally, we get distracted by an airplane, and then after a little bit of dinking, we get a Hurricane Tyra Black speed up that is ultimately neutralized and results in a rally win for the New Jersey Fives, setting up another game point. Hurricane Tyra Black's cross-court dink gives Mari Humberg just enough to work with, and she's going to hit Georgia with the backhand flick, and a little bit of help off the net helps put this one away.
New Jersey takes the first.
Now, Mari Humberg did have quite a few errors in this game, but she saw almost 2/3 of the balls go her way, and she generated quite a bit of offense, which more than made up for these errors. Both teams were very effective at the kitchen when it came to speeding up the ball. However, the difference in this one is probably the fact that New Jersey got to the kitchen 64% of the time while they were serving, whereas the Dallas Flash only arrived there 26% of the time. Of the 19 attempts to get to the kitchen, Dallas Flash only made it there 5 times. They were actually slightly better in these kitchen rallies. They just didn't get there enough while they were on serve. We've got another close one here, 19-18, New Jersey with the lead. Now guys, just imagine for 1 second here, if you have just gotten on your plane, you've started your ascent, you look out your window and you see professional pickleball. What's going through your mind?
That's wide. Will Howells aggressive at the kitchen.
Will Howells played very well to get New Jersey into this position, but he did have a few tough moments down the stretch in closing time for New Jersey. Here, a dink just is going to clip the net and go wide. God, you hate that. Feel that one? It hurts, man. We do get a nice, albeit rare, Ernie from J.W. Johnson. If he adds that into his game, look out. At 22-20, it is Augie Go with an off-the-bounce cross-court speed-up at Zane Navratil's backhand. Eventually, in the ensuing firefight, they get the pop-up off of Will Howells, and then on 23-20, backhand dink into the net. Georgia Johnson fired up. She wants to close this one out right here. But of course, before we can get to that, we've got to check out this awesome plane flying overhead. Back to the rally, we get into some dinking before Augie Go is going to try that off the bounce speed up again. Clips the tape this time. We get back into more dinking, and now it is Zane Navratil who's going to try the aerial speed up.
What a finish, Augie Go.
In this men's doubles game, Will and Zane clearly wanted to keep J.W. Johnson out of the mix as much as possible. Augie Gasa over 60% of the balls. But despite this, J.W. Johnson still managed to have the highest player impact plus score among all players in this game. Both teams were successful at getting to the kitchen. However, Dallas was the more effective team when they were there, largely because they were able to find more success on their speed-ups than the New Jersey Fives. Dallas won 50% of the speed-ups that they initiated, whereas New Jersey only won 33% of the speed-ups that they initiated and lost 58% of them. Both teams actually started the exact same number of speed-ups, 12. That brings us to a tie heading into mixed doubles. Kind of feels like we might get a dream breaker. Let's see what happens. New Jersey did their best to keep it close here against JW and Georgia, but ultimately they proved to just be too much. Again, we do have a quick plane coming through, but after this passes, we get Mari Humberg dink into the net to set up a game point for J.W. Johnson and Georgia Johnson. After working their way up to the kitchen, J.W. Johnson sees an opportunity. Mari Humberg leaves the ball just a little high. He's going to take a shot at it.
Oh, yeah! It's good. Point saved.
I want to see that.
Now, for all the trash I'm talking about showing us all these airplanes, I do love the picture-in-picture of close call replay they've been doing. This is an absolute win. This is an A-plus development. They need to keep this going. Anyway, back to the pickleball, 24-22. Another game point squandered for JW and Georgia. 24-23. They've got another shot at it. Georgia into the net. Tied at 25. Zane Navratil coming all the way over from the right side, getting big in the middle. The fives coach saying one more. I know we're the fives, but we need one more. Let's count to 5 anyway, though. On game point, Zane Navratil is going to try to go for a cross-court speed up at Georgia Johnson. She's all over it. Mari can't handle. Tied back at 26-26. Dallas Flash would earn another game point, and this time they take advantage of it.
Takes the third, 28-20.
In this game, the stats tell the picture that Zane Navratil was playing out of his mind.
Player impact ++1 hitting a winner, +7.5 forcing an error, 25 committing forced error, 1 committing unforced error.
He only committed 2 unforced errors and 140 touches. He hit a rally-winning shot once every 11 touches. However, neither him nor Mari were able to find much success speeding up the ball at the kitchen, whereas J.W. Johnson, on the other hand, had a field day. New Jersey was much more effective at getting to the kitchen. They just weren't very effective when they got there. In mix number 2, Annalie Waters and Will Howe cruised to a pretty easy victory to force the Dreambreaker.
That ball almost got through 2 paddles. She was there.
Just looking at the score based on rally scoring, it might not be apparent to you that this was a blowout, but if this was scored only on side outs, the score was 15-6 in favor of the New Jersey Fives. Will Howe's had a very good game. He found a lot of success speeding up the ball both at Tyra and at Augie. Both teams got to the kitchen around 60-65% of the time. However, New Jersey won 15 of those 23 kitchen rallies, again, thanks to their speed ups. Also, let's just take one quick second and appreciate that Annalie Waters had 105 touches and only 3 of those didn't make it back over the net and into play. We start off the Dreambreaker with Will Howes against J.W. Johnson. He was able to get the Fives up to a 3-1 lead. Up next was Zane Navratil versus Augie Guh. But after ripping that winner down the line and giving the crowd a little fist pump, how about that? Augie Guh would tie it up with a 3-1 of his own. Georgia Johnson gets an epic net cord, and at 6-5, she's going to find another point, getting 3-1 over Annalie Waters. That is huge for the Dallas Flash. Mari and Tyra and Will and J-Dub would split their series, getting us to 11-9 at the end change, with Zane Navratil back up against Augie Guh. After playing it safe, he is able to find the overhead put away, now 10-11, trying to get his team back into it. Get a little bit of a help with a funny bounce there to tie things up. Gets another winner, inside out forehand, cross court against Augie, high five in the team, looking for a 4-0 here, and he gets it on another missed return, another fist bump. Annalie Waters back out against Georgia Johnson. She's riding that positive energy, that momentum that Zane Navratil started, and she would get a 4-0 of her own, and all of a sudden the New Jersey Fives have completely run away with this. They did not look back. Will Howes would close it out, a 21-13 victory.
Number 1 in Orlando, 21-13.
Now, I don't have real clear stats data for match 2, but since the games broke the exact same way, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the Dreambreaker here. Our champions, so we start off with the same matchups, and once again, we get Will Howes getting the New Jersey Fives up to a 3-1 lead. Getting a little fist pump action there, just like his buddy Zane, who is, of course, once again up against Augie Guh of the Dallas Flash. Now, last time these two players met in the Dreambreaker, it was Zane getting a 4-0 as a part of that big run that spurred New Jersey on to victory, but Augie got his revenge and got a 4-0 of his own. Georgia would get a split with Annalie Waters, which is honestly a win. Anytime you're splitting with Annalie Waters, you got to take that while you can. And then Mari Humberg would come out and is going to tie this one up against Tyra Black with a 3-1. Here she's going to send Tyra all the way off the court, again into that carpeted area where the court meets the carpet. A little bit of a tumble there from Tyra. She seemed to be okay. After a J-Dub Will Howes split, Zane Navratil would get his team the 11-10 lead at the end change. Loving that fist pump from him today. In that red, feeling like Tiger Woods out there. However, after the end change, Augie would recapture some of that same magic, and again, Where the carpet meets the court, we have players hitting the deck. Zane Navratil taking a tumble this time. Augie would get a 3-1. He takes 7-1 in the 2 series with Zane Navratil in this dream break. Georgia Johnson takes the court with a 2-point lead against Anley Waters, and just watch this rally. Incredible hands from Georgia Johnson.
Nice. Ooh, it's out. Georgia Johnson puts the team on her back.
He comes away with the 3-1 over AL Dub. Everybody's getting a high five, even mom, even coach, and a little lip reading there from Anley Waters. Not pleased with that result. The Fives never got back into this one, and Augie Guh closed it out.
It's good. Augie Guh clutching the playoffs for the Dallas Flash.
Night has fallen in Orlando for match 3. That's right, this is the 3rd match of the same day between these 2 teams. We are going to crown a champion on this evening. We'll start off with a patient rally, lots of dinking, working it around to J-Dub and to Augie. And as the camera dips down, we'll take a quick look at this plane, but also an Augie Guh off the bounce speed up that eventually ends up for an easy put away for Zane Navratil to get the Fives off to a 10-4 lead, which would be massive if they're able to steal this game. They are looking at a pretty clear path to avoiding that dream breaker, which, as we saw last time, is always a bit of a toss-up. Eventually, Dallas did work their way back into this match. Here we have a 22-21 lead for the New Jersey Fives. Again, another patient point, and Augie Guh off speed up down the middle, catches Wilhouse off guard, tied it up at 22-22. We jump ahead to 23-23, and a Wilhouse speed up off the tape catches Augie Guh square in the shoulder, and he hits him with the shrug. On game point, the Fives are able to successfully navigate their way to the kitchen off the 3rd shot drop from Wilhouse. They settle into more dinking, as we saw a lot in this match. We'll dive into the data in just a second, before Wilhouse finds the spot right down the middle for the game-sealing winner.
Wilhouse takes the first.
Men's doubles game, it was very clear that Zane and Will were making a deliberate effort to play patient, which you don't always see from Wilhouse. He loves speeding it up. He loves getting into those firefights. But when he's selective, I think it's when he's at his best. The average rally length in this game was 15.75 hits. And this just felt like really high-level play. All these players have a very high accuracy rating, which is a little bit bolstered by the fact that there were so many extended dink rallies, especially early on in the match. And both teams were incredibly successful on speed-ups. The Dallas Flash had a net plus 32% on speed-ups. The New Jersey Fives had a net plus 53% win rate on speed-ups. When you have that high of a speed-up net win rate, you'd be tempted to just speed up every freaking time, but it's only because they were being so selective that win rate is so high. It was the Dallas Flash who were the more aggressive team in this match. They started a firefight once every 22 touches, whereas the New Jersey Fives only started one once every 38 touches. Could have gone either way, but an absolutely huge development for New Jersey to get this win. That puts them on the inside track to avoid a dream breaker, to win in regulation. Anley Waters just needs to win both of her matches. Tied at 10-10 in women's doubles, Anley Waters and Mari Humberg only lost 1 game all year. If they can keep that streak going, they will be in really good shape to get a regulation win. However, the Fives are going to find themselves in a bit of a hole here after a pair of unforced errors from Mari Humberg. A firefight ends up with a speed up into the net from Anley Waters. At 13-10 after the end change, Mari Humberg is going to leave one high. Tyra attacks it cross court, and Anley Waters caught in transition into the net. The next rally again, Anley Waters just gets stuck in the middle of the court with the ball at her feet.
Wow, Georgia and Tyra.
At 18-13, a 3rd shot drive from Hurricane Tyra Black clips the net, and you can see the frustration is mounting for Anley Waters. Now a game point for Dallas Flash, and the Dallas Flash are going to employ the one more ball strategy. It doesn't have to be a great ball. It doesn't even have to be a good ball. It just has to be a ball that goes over the net, makes your opponents hit one more ball. They got to the kitchen, they got pushed back, and then Georgia Johnson in transition attacks.
Unbelievable.
Everything a championship match should be.
Anley Waters and Mari Humberg had similar accuracy rates. They didn't commit significantly more errors than in the previous game. However, they just didn't generate the same amount of offense. Particularly, Mari Humberg's offense kind of dried up this game. Hurricane Tyra Black and Georgia Johnson both played absolutely phenomenal lights out pickleball. and absolutely dominated the rallies that took place at the kitchen line, winning 14 of the 19, largely thanks to how successful they were defending the speed-ups from Annalie Waters and Mari Humberg. After all that excitement of the men's doubles upset, the women's doubles upset, it looked like we just found a more creative way to reach the same dream breaker we've already seen twice today. However, Zane Navratil with the drop shot, hey, I think my dad might have taught him that. Anyway, back to the game at hand. Zane Navratil was not quite ready to just go quietly into that dream breaker. He took over down the stretch of this game here with the speed up. It is going to go just deep on the counter. He gets skinny, gets out of the way. JW and Georgia Johnson do a great job of moving Zane around here, pulling him all the way out wide. He leaves one high, JW attacks, but Zane able to get the reset, Mari able to get the reset, and we get back into more dinking. This was a 43-hit rally. It was tied for the third longest of the game, and it would come to a close with what was, for this game, a rare Zane Navratil speed up.
No, it's going long.
At 24-23 game point for the Dallas Flash, we are going to get possibly the biggest, I don't know if it's controversial, but the most important in-out video replay review of all time. Just take a look at what happens here.
No.
It's out. I mean, the challenge is coming for sure. That defense was...
So not only do we have close call replay, as you can see in the bottom right, the actual 240 or whatever frames per second cameras on every single line, we now have a close call replay AI ball tracker that is determining systematically if any ball is in or out. Now, we can zoom in here. I don't know if it does any good, but this was called in. This is as close as you could possibly get. This is reminiscent of something you would see on tennis with Hawkeye. I have more thoughts on this, but we're going to talk about that later. First, we've got to finish talking about this match. Just remember, this was overruled, called out on the floor, and determined to actually have been in, so the match continues. Despite all the drama of that call and of this comeback in general, ultimately, New Jersey never earned their own game point, and Dallas finally was able to close it out and get a 28-26 victory in the first mixed doubles game.
Mitch Dink for the fives, an 8-game point.
So look, I've come around and I can appreciate rally scoring with the freeze for what it is. It's going to make for much more entertaining games because everything's going to be close. But this is a good example of why it took me a little bit to come to that conclusion and my initial knocks of it. This was an incredibly close game that Zane and Mari almost stole, and I feel comfortable calling it a steal because even though it was tied at 25-25, it only got that way because of a massive freeze-assisted comeback. In fact, if you only scored the rallies where the teams were on serve using traditional side-out scoring method, this is a 12-6 win for the Dallas Flash. Just saying. The data also reveals a pretty interesting pattern in this match. It was basically just 3 players sitting around dinking, waiting for JW Johnson to start the action. There were 35 firefights in this match. Georgia Johnson initiated 2 of them. Mari Humberg initiated 4 of them. Zane Navratil initiated 6 of them. And JW Johnson initiated 23 of them. Every 10 times he hit the ball, he was initiating a firefight. Every 99 times Georgia Johnson hit the ball, she was initiating a firefight. And these were good firefights that JW was taking. At a net plus 27% win rate on JW's speed ups, and both Zane and Mari struggled on the counters with them. Pretty interesting to dive into this. Maybe I'm nerding out a little too much, but I like it. Let me know if you like it, or if you'd rather me just stick to more clips and less of this stuff. So now, it is up to Annalie Waters to come out and to force the Dream Breaker. So as nice as that mixed doubles win would have been, the Fives are still in control of this game. All they have to do is win this with Annalie Waters and Will Howes, and they will get to a Dream Breaker where they will still be the favorites, despite the setback in the second Dream Breaker. In this game, Augie Gubb played absolutely incredible. Here he is going to start taking over, and the Flash are going to start building up a little bit of a lead on the New Jersey Fives. The pressure is building with every single rally that the Flash win, getting them closer to the deciding victory. 13-9 lead after that dink into the net. Annalie Waters takes a second at the end change. We are back on the other side now. AL speeds up down the line at Tyra, but she's loaded on that backhand, eventually earning Augie a pop-up and setting herself up for the Ernie smash. Alice found a lot of success speeding up at Will Howes. Here, eventually the firefight ends with him sending it deep. We're approaching crunch time of this game, of this deciding game. Will Howes speed up at Augie, able to force an error. A little bit of chitter chatter after that, trying to fire himself up. That's when he's at his best. However, every time New Jersey would win a rally, it seemed like Dallas had an answer, and just trading side outs is not going to complete a comeback unless you want to play that dangerous game all the way at the freeze. New Jersey's got one more push in them here. A Hurricane Tyra Black speed up, goes way deep, and then Will Howes on the next rally speeds up cross court.
It's wild and it's out. And
21-22, Will Howes gets a little bit of help off the net on this rip. On the ensuing rally, within one, he can't keep the dink in play into the net. 23-21, Dallas trying to earn a game point, a match point, a championship point. It is Augie Guh.
yes, he does. Match point, Dallas. A championship on the paddle of Augie Guh. Big drive, Cinderella story complete. Gladiator Guh. Fans, please.
So a whole lot was made about Annalie Waters and Will Howes not sticking around for this concession speech. Here we've got a freeze frame of the very dejected looking Zane Navratil, Mari Humberg, and Ryan Harwood. Zane would go on to deliver a very classy concession speech. I don't know if you call it a concession speech, but congratulations speech.
Please give it up for the New Jersey Fives.
We don't really feel like we lost. They took it and they played incredibly, and so it really, all the credit goes to those guys, and congratulations, guys.
And I'll be honest with you, I just don't care about this whole situation of them not sticking around. Now, they were told apparently by MLP that there were no post-match obligations for the losers, which in my opinion is how it should be. When you watch the Super Bowl, you don't really care about the team that lost. Get the losers off the screen. We don't really need to see them anymore. They've done their part, good for them. We're over it. We're moving on. Let's focus on the winners. This maybe feels like something that's left over from tennis where you have concession speeches. I just don't feel the need for it. Get to the good part. Get to this. This closeout game was an absolute masterclass from Augie Guh. He had 124 touches, 0 unforced errors. He had 12 rally-winning shots, including 3 clean winners. It's impossible to have watched this final and not come away extremely impressed with how he played, especially as the 4th round pick. Remember that. So let's move along and take a little bit more of a holistic approach and try to see if we can figure out, why did New Jersey lose this series? They were the most dominant team all season long. They earned the number 1 seed. What went wrong for them? What went right for the Dallas Flash? Well, match number 1 pretty much went according to plan. I mean, yeah, it's great if Zane and Will get a win. It'd be great if Zane and Mari get a win. But at this stage in the tournament, you're playing in the championships. You're going to be playing really strong teams. But have to imagine that coming into this, New Jersey would have been perfectly fine taking every single match to a dream breaker. So match number 1, good job. They did it. They won the dream breaker. They had an 8-0 stretch. They ran away with it. In match number 2, the games all went the exact same way. So again, it kind of more or less went according to plan. Again, you'd love to steal one, but if you don't, you're fine. It's just the Dream Breaker is a toss-up. This was the first Dream Breaker they lost all year. That is honestly incredible that they made it this far without losing one. It was bound to happen eventually, and it just so happened to happen at the biggest moment of the entire season. Match number 3 is where things fall apart, but ironically, they got off to their best start. We started with men's doubles this match for the first time. All the other matches started with women's doubles, and New Jersey Fives got that win. So in my opinion, and maybe I'm biased because he's a buddy of mine, Zane Navratil did his part for this team. He got that 1 win, and after that, it's kind of on Annalie Waters' shoulders, as young as she is, as talented as she is, to go out and get the other wins, and they came up short. Now, a lot of it was made that maybe the announcers weren't being fair. They were sort of singling Mari out, saying she didn't play well. Does the data support this? She was the weakest player on the team in this series, but that was kind of the case the whole season. When you put so much draft capital into drafting Annalie Waters, you're going to have lower production around her. It's just kind of a fact of the way the auction works. Mari's production wasn't that much different than what we saw all season from her. committed unforced errors at roughly the same clip in this series than she did the rest of the season. However, she did commit more forced errors, which might just be a symptom of playing a very talented team in a championship match who played at an incredibly high level. Additionally, Mari was not able to generate the same amount of offense that we typically see from her. Normally, she speeds up 9 times per game. She only sped up 7 times per game in this series. Again, possibly just because she was playing an incredibly talented team that raised their level and just didn't give you much to work with. So what do you guys think? At the end of the day, I think it's kind of just like Zane Navratil said in his speech after the match. I don't really feel like New Jersey Fives played terrible and blew this game. The Dallas Flash, and it pains me to say this because once again, they are my rivals and I do hate them. They just played an incredible match. They went out and they took it. And it was a lot of fun to watch, even though once again. So, Dallas Flash, congratulations, you did it. Now, if you excuse me, I've got reservations at the buffet for an all-you-can-eat feast of crow. That'll just about do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. And once again, I know I'm super late. I hope you enjoyed it. Before we do go, I do want to talk about one other thing. We touched on it briefly, but just how great was this whole AI ball tracker system from Close Call Replay? I think it could be improved. I don't really know what this black circle is supposed to represent. It seems a little big to me, if that's the area of the ball that is supposed to be contacting with the surface of the court. I think it's a huge step in the right direction, but I just think we can maybe refine it a little bit. Maybe I'm just a cheater. I did win Chris Callie's Hook of the Week on Sorry Not Sorry once before, but that last ball they overturned, I thought it was out. Anyway, huge step in the right direction. Let me know what y'all think about it. And I think that is actually going to do it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in.